The following program contains graphic material, including offensive language. Viewer discretion is advised.
Did you serve in Afghanistan?
Yes, I did.
How many tours?
One.
What year were you there? What years?
2002, 2003.
Wow, so you served right at the beginning.
Yeah.
What was that experience like?
Tough. I don't like talking about my military experience. Not that we've said too much. I really don't like to divulge a lot of things about the military.
So, have you been to Afghanistan? Yeah. I can't really fully tell. J.R. Majewski there was talking in an interview about his service in Afghanistan and the peril and the dangers and the horrific things he experienced. He went there to Afghanistan right after 9/11 because he's a brave American. He's a patriot who served his country. Except there's an AP report this week that's exposed potentially some of his lies, and we can see his pushback from this. But first, let's get into what the AP did say. Military documents obtained by the Associated Press through a public records request tell a different story than what Majewski was just telling. They indicate that he never deployed to Afghanistan, but instead he completed a 6-month stint helping to load planes at an air base in Qatar, a longtime US ally that is a safe distance from the fighting. Throughout his campaign, Majewski has offered his Air Force service as a valuable credential. The tagline he has is "Veteran for Congress," that appears on campaign merchandise. He ran a Facebook ad promoting himself as a combat veteran. And in a campaign video released this year, Majewski also marauds through a vacant factory with a rifle while pledging to restore an America that is independent and strong, like the country I fought for. Why is he walking through a vacant factory? That's some serious fighting he's been doing there. There's more recently to this. The House Republican Campaign Committee released a biography that describes Majewski as a veteran whose squadron was one of the first on the ground in Afghanistan soon after 9/11. So, after all this valor, after all this courage, he must have something to show for it. The AP continued by saying this: Majewski lacks many of the medals that are typically awarded to those who served in Afghanistan. Though he once said he went more than 40 days without a shower during his time in the landlocked country, he does not have an Afghanistan campaign medal, which was issued to those who served 30 consecutive days or 60 non-consecutive days in the country. He also didn't receive a medal, a Global War on Terrorism Expeditionary Medal, which was issued to service members before the creation of the Afghanistan Campaign Medal if they were deployed overseas in a direct service to the war on terror. Again, like I told you guys, there's a whole bunch of layers to this, but we're looking for the answers to what it is that actually happened. In fact, from that first interview, what more do you have to say? JR, why do you not like to talk about your service? Let's watch.
There was a tough time in life. The military wasn't easy, but in retrospect, it's one of the best decisions I've ever made. And, I'd do it all over again. But, out of respect of many things, my answer to most people when they ask about my military service is, I served honorably, and I fought for this country for a lot of months over in the Middle East, and so did a lot of people that went with me. And, when I see all these things that are going on today, if I could put my BDUs back on, if I wasn't so chubby, I'd probably try to find a way to do it.
So there you see an example of the reason why this might be something he wants to talk about. Because then it goes to, I don't want to talk about it, but I do want to tell you that I'm a badass and I'd go right back over there immediately because everyone else that's not going back over there, they're just fake Americans. Here's a couple consequences to potentially after this whole thing blew up on the AP. The House Republican campaign arm is slashing a near 1 million ad buy that's meant to target Representative Marcy Kaptur, who is his opponent. That's essentially walking away from what could have been an easy pickup for the parties, what they thought would happen with Majewski there. Now, the National Republican Congressional Committee, this is the group that booked us $960,000 in the Toledo, Ohio market to help boost him. It cut that buy entirely on Thursday, and that's according to two sources that are familiar with it. So one more thing, you guys, before you jump in here, Jank, because Majewski came out today and he had a press conference. He goes, we're gonna talk about this, we're gonna clear the air, you guys are gonna stop slandering me. And if you can make out through all of the blurriness of this video, maybe the $960,000 would have been put to use in this. He came out talking about the word of the month, classified. Watch this.
An inquiry was made from my military records and was received by the Associated Press in July. The inquiry states, we show one deployment to Qatar from May 2002 to November 2002. What he did, meaning me, or where he may have went from that location, we do not have visibility on. In fact, the orders and the military records that I've been able to obtain from my personal files shows that all of my deployments are listed as classified. The Air Force has explicitly stated there is no way for us to verify whether or not J.R. Majewski served in Afghanistan during his deployment timeframe in Qatar. To be clear, the hatchet job yesterday was a deceitful smear. I anticipate that my opponent will attempt to perpetuate this smear because she is desperate.
Desperation might not be the best word, especially coming from the position that he's in, but it's classified, you guys. It was absolutely classified. So one more piece, because a reporter asked a very simple follow-up. So tell us where in Afghanistan you were. Can you let us know that so we can have some kind of a backup to this? Because apparently it was classified and they can't determine whether or not he was there or not. Yes, he did say that. So one more piece. Here's the question and the clarification.
Can you tell us where you were in Afghanistan and when, like about what time frame?
I was in multiple bases in Afghanistan, and the time frame is clear, in 2002.
Give some examples of those bases where you were.
There were only a couple bases in Afghanistan. We flew in and out of the area of responsibility multiple times. It's almost impossible for me to tell you where I was on what day. That's why my orders are listed as a classified location.
So you guys, he called the press conference to let everyone know he can't tell you.
Are you ready? Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Hope everybody's having a good week. Coming to a end here into a weekend, and it's getting colder here in Maine. The temperatures at night are dropping down into the high 40s, and now they're talking about tonight perhaps there'll be some frost up north in Maine here, and it's amazing how quick, the temperature changes. As soon as the summer ended, everything just started getting cold. I haven't even been running my air conditioner anymore. I ought to just take it the hell out of the window now, because I don't think there's going to be much need to have that on hooked up. But today it's a nice day. It's sunny and everything, and believe it or not, this is the kind of weather I like here, where it's in the mid 60s and the sun is out, and there's just a little bit of a breeze. I like that. I know for some people it's like, oh, it's too damn cold. Well, yeah, probably because you live in a warm state and your body is accustomed to that kind of temperature. But when you live in Maine, it takes a while to adjust to the cooler temperatures that we get in the winter. It does get hot in the summer here with the humidity, but this summer was not a bad summer for Maine. I gotta say, it's been a very nice summer. I got no complaints about it at all. So, however, when we're talking about weather here, Florida's certainly getting shellacked here by hurricanes, and the flooding down there is it's a massive mess. I mean, it's just you know, and here the anti-government Ron death sentence is down there, begging for Biden's help in federal aid because he declared it a disaster area. Well, now he's on his knees there before Biden asking for money. You know, and this son of a bitch all summer long was sitting here talking about how the government, we don't need the government and everything, and now here he is kissing Biden's ass and, you know, wanting to take, you know, these people are, they're stupid, okay? And maybe not stupid, but they're deliberately, you know, being evasive, and they deliberately, they contradict themselves, okay? I don't see how Republican voters or anybody who supports, you know, Ron DeSantis right now can still say I support Ron DeSantis when you see what he's doing right now. An example of how he's two-faced about the government. Okay, if he doesn't like the government, why is he going to their door right now asking for federal aid? Okay, and here's another part of that goddamn situation. How much of that government aid is actually going to go into helping out the people in the damaged parts of Florida? How much skimming do they do off of that? You know, you got to wonder now, because hey, we live in this world where, you know, where people of like minds are crooked. You know, and Ron DeSantis here has proven that he's like-minded to Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a criminal in every sense of the word, okay? And people who follow in each other's footsteps, well, they do the same thing. So we know that's the case. So, you know, why should we trust Ron DeSantis with government money when he's likely just to abuse that and nobody in Florida gets any help? I mean, they've been saying that, you know, insurance companies have been closing their doors down there in Florida, probably because they know that state is going to become a nightmare for claims, because Florida is like sea level, you know, and with the global warming, dark cloud looming over the world here, places like Florida are going to be flattened by hurricanes like this and destroyed. What insurance company is going to want to work in a place like that where they're giving out more than they're taking in? Okay, they're not going to stay there for long. And this mess here that's happened in Florida right now is just the beginning. There's supposed to be another hurricane that's going to hit there later on. So they don't even have time to clean up what already is damaged. They got to brace for yet another round of high winds and water and rain. Okay, so, I mean, it's crazy. But, you know, I've been saying, and I think you can go back in a lot of my videos where I've said, look, people in Florida need to just think about moving away from the ocean fronts, okay? Get away from the shorelines, at the very least, and get away from, you know, where flooding is going to occur. And they said that, you know, more people have been moving into Florida than ever. So, I mean, it's like, you know, you people, I mean, I think a lot of them probably got a wake-up call here who have only been down there for less than a year and going through their first hurricane. I don't think they're going to want to stay after this. So, people, you know, think about that before you decide, oh, let's go, you know, because everyone's got a picture in their mind of what Florida is, and what, you know, because we think about palm trees and nice weather and oceans, and, you know, people think about that when they picture Florida. But, you know, that's not all Florida is. I mean, it's right in the crosshairs of every damn hurricane that comes, it's, you know, that way. So, you know, you got to remember that they've had many years. I mean, I used to live down in Florida a long time back, and we went through a hurricane down there, and I'll tell you, it ripped the porch roof right off the house. Okay, that's how strong. The next morning we found it halfway down the street in someone else's yard. But, you know, like I said, that is what you go through down there, you know. And of course, that hurricane that we went through was probably a category 2 or a 3, so it was nothing compared to what these people have experienced right now down there in Florida. And these storms are going to be numerous, because it seems like, you know, every time they have a storm, it's always like the first storm in like decades or a century or whatever, you know, and they're having them every month. I mean, that's unheard of. So, we know that global warming is behind it, and it's not nature's fault that it has to do what it's doing, because we've been screwing around with this planet here for over a century, damaging it in ways we couldn't even possibly fathom. And now it's all come to roost here, and now we're looking back and saying, boy, we were stupid to do all these things. But nobody bothered to think about what the consequences would be for the progress we made over this time. A lot of things that we have now we shouldn't have at all, okay? Or maybe, should have been thought of in a different way, especially how we move ourselves around this world. I mean, I think the fossil fuel promise was really just a Trojan horse by the oil companies and stuff like that, and even the oil companies don't even want to admit they fucked us over with this stuff, and fucked the planet over. So, yeah, hopefully, people down there will get some relief, and I guess there's no water or power in parts of Florida, if I remember right here. So it's terrible, I can't imagine what it's like. I mean, I had relatives that lived down there, and unfortunately they live near the water. They're up in Pensacola, so they have a house that's kind of off the interstate. You go off the interstate and down to a side road, and it looks like a trailer park, but it's not just trailers. You got regular homes in there too. And so they got a house there, and it's sitting right level with a shoreline that's basically kind of a swamp first and then goes into the ocean. And they got I mean, yeah, they have a boat and everything, but they're right level. I mean, if you stand there and look, I mean, it looks like the water is just going to come right up, So I imagine when they have hurricanes, that's a problem for them, okay? So I'm just glad I don't live down there anymore. There was a time when I thought about living there, but now you couldn't pay me to go down there. So Marjorie Taylor Greene got a divorce from her husband. Well, after 20-something years of marriage, I'm surprised a guy could last that long with her, unless he was a workaholic and he was never around. So I can't imagine anybody being married to that. I mean, if I was just in the house with her for 10 minutes, I'd be ready to swing a broom handle at her, or something like that, because her, she's so opinionated and so wrong in what she's opinionated on, that I would deliberately sabotage her career just to get her the hell out of government, because we don't need people like that. So I don't know what, they're not saying what the hell the problem is, but I can just imagine what the reason was why they divorced. And of course now she'll be bringing her bad attitude to work now because of this. And they say what goes around comes around, and I can't say I feel sorry for her for the misery that or whatever she's going to have to go through in this divorce. It's just like what happened with those 3 girls there at Fox News that spent years trashing Democrats in every friggin' way they could, and then all of a sudden it comes out that they were sexually assaulted and whatever by this old fat bastard that ran with them. Okay, couldn't feel any sympathy for them either. Okay, they got what they deserved as far as I'm concerned. Because when bad people have bad things happen to them, who's going to be around to say, "Oh, poor baby"? Nobody. Because you do nothing good for anybody. Why should anybody do anything good for you? So, to hell with them. They get what they deserve. They say, God says, let the vengeance be mine. I will take vengeance. Well, he did vengeance right there on these people. Okay? We didn't do it. Okay, and boy, I'll tell you, there's a lot of people leaving Russia. A lot of people. In fact, a couple of my buddies that I would talk to online have already packed up their shit and left. One of them is married. Smokey, I mean, don't climb up there. One of them is married, has kids, and he left Russia and left his wife and kids behind. You know, and he left because he was afraid that Putin was they were gonna draft him to fight the Ukrainian. He didn't want to fight the Ukrainians because he has friends in that country, and he doesn't want to go down there and fight them. So that's the opinion, or that's the, the sentiment of a lot of the Russians leaving Russia right now, is they don't want to be dragged into this fight. They don't agree with it. They got too much at stake here, and they just, they got planes coming out of there, landing in Uzbekistan, or whatever the hell you say it, and from there they go to wherever they want to go, Poland, Finland, Sweden, wherever they want to go. So he doesn't know when he'll be back. The kids were crying, he said, when he left at the airport, and they asked him, when are you coming back? And he couldn't answer that. And I can't imagine, that's tough. Why he didn't take them? I guess it's because he's got a lot of assets in Russia. And if you become a refugee, if his whole family became refugees of Russia, then technically Russia can take all his property, all of his assets, and claim it as theirs, okay? Because they basically abandoned their material assets, okay? They left it behind, and so it becomes free game for anyone there. So maybe I guess he left them there. At least he give his wife. Put everything in her name, basically, to try to keep what they have. I mean, he plans on going back, but depending on how this thing drags out here in Russia, it may not be for quite a while, if ever. But he doesn't want to lose the things that he's got. He's got a nice home, and he has an apartment that he rents out to, and he works. A contractor. He's a construction. He does stuff like that. Of course, business has slowed down a lot since the sanctions were in place, but he was still doing work. But he was planning. I think he's been working on this for a few months now, planning on getting out of there because he's. I guess he could see the handwriting on the wall, what was going to be coming down the pike. So he was, I think he was getting things ready and prepared to go. And he said he saw lots of other Russians there in the airport. Some people they wouldn't allow into the terminals. I guess they turned them around. But they're taking all the men, okay. And he said there was quite a few young men leaving Russia too. And he said that's going to be a real impact to Russia when you got all the youth of that country, a whole generation just basically wiped out without a shot being fired. Smokey, get down from there. What are you digging there? Hold on a second here. So yeah, I mean, all these people leaving Russia, all these young people, taking all the brain power out of the damn country. That's going to hurt them for a long time. You see, Russia is not going to recover from this anytime soon. This is going to be forever, depending on how much damage Putin does here. Here's some weird thing that went on. You had Tucker Carlson here on Fox News, sitting here making the accusation without any fact to back it up. Okay, no fact at all. But he's on Fox News sitting here saying that the United States or the CIA was probably responsible for destroying the pipeline, the gas pipeline, in the that was hit here yesterday, I think it was, or and that would cut off the gas supply to Europe, so that way the United States could have an advantage there with that. Okay. Here's the flaw in that story. You can go back as far as April of this year and get stories about Putin talking about shutting down that pipeline by threatening the rest of the world that you're going to have a cold winter. We're shutting the gas down, and you're not going to have any gas. We're not going to sell to you. We're not going to let you buy our gas, okay? Because the sanctions were in place, and they were crushing Russia, with oil and all that stuff that wasn't getting sold. So Russia's sitting on a ton of oil right now, and they don't have really any buyers for it. But he was threatening to shut off the gas into Europe, okay, in order to lift the sanctions, right? Well, he's been saying that since April. And then all of a sudden now this pipeline has exploded. Why would we think anybody other than Russia was responsible for that, okay? Biden, the only thing Biden is responsible for is getting the people together to put sanctions on Russia, okay, which has done a lot of damage internally to the country. I mean, thousands of people in Russia have lost their jobs because they were working for American-based companies, okay? All these people are out of work. The ruble is taking a nosedive, okay? It's worth nothing. And they're basically unable to sell good quality products in that country like they did before for the last 20 years. So people are really upset, especially the young people, because everything was all fine and dandy over there until Putin decided to go and do this bullshit in Ukraine, okay? And now their whole futures have been pretty much wiped out. And that's why they've been over there protesting like you wouldn't believe, okay? And making Putin nervous. I mean, they've had to move Putin around in Russia, different places, so they couldn't find him because they tried to assassinate him many different times already. And the country is not happy about this. And now you got all these people leaving Russia because Putin is trying to get everybody that he can. He's even got prisoners from prison in Russia recruited to join their military to go fight over there, okay? And now I hear that they're the sections that Russia took in Ukraine, okay, the eastern side of Ukraine, they want to deem that as now Russian territory, okay, even though the rest of the community of the world does not recognize that as legit, okay? But Putin is going to go ahead and deem that Russian territory, and he's going to take the Ukrainians living in that area and recruit them to fight in the Russian military against their own people. Now, you want talk about a stupid idea, okay? How does he know that these people, these Ukrainians, are going to go along with that and not turn against the military that they've been recruited into? Talk about setting himself up for a disaster. A lot of people have said it. Putin is not a very smart person when it comes to war. He's been making a lot of mistakes since he started this shit. Right from the very beginning, where he thought this would be over and done with inside of a month, okay? He underestimated Ukraine in so many ways. And one of those ways is that he didn't think anybody would run to their aid. And apparently the whole world ran to their aid. And they, because, hey, look, nobody really had that much love for Putin in the first place, okay? And there's always going to be this streak of weariness about Russia with the rest of the world because of the history that goes back so many decades and centuries about how miserable people were living on that piece of land over there under many different forms of government. Okay, the people were always thrown under the bus in that country. And so, people don't really have much love for Russia, but things were going pretty well over there for, like I said, in the last 20 years. And so now, with things falling apart again, it's like, it's no big surprise, let's just say, to the rest of the world. Nothing good lasts forever in that country. And Putin saw to that. And so now you've got Fox News basically saying that, oh yes, our CIA was responsible for this, for what happened to that pipeline. When, like I said, they even said right in the same breath, we don't really have any evidence to really back this up, but they're going to say it anyway. Okay, and lo and behold, on the Russia propaganda news network, like their Fox News, they took an excerpt from Fox News that Tucker Carlson said that, and they made a story about it over there saying, look, even the Americans know that Putin was responsible for this. You see, it's like, Jesus Christ. I mean, you've got Fox News and Russia, somehow working together to deceive the world. Okay? If this was like the 1940s or 50s, okay, what do you think would have happened to Fox News if even a hint of some kind of collaboration was going on with the Soviet Union? Okay, that station would have been shut down. Everybody in there would have been exported out of this country. The FBI would never have sat still for that. Okay, they would have came down hard on those people. But you see, today, it's all different now. People can run their mouth and support Putin while he's attacking a sovereign nation and threatening the rest of the world with a nuclear war, okay? And nobody in our government is going to shut them up from saying that, okay? Free speech, yeah, I guess you could say they're protected under the free speech, okay? But when you're talking about an adversary who is attacking the world, okay, what do you want to call it or not, he's made a threat to the world. So basically the whole world is under threat from Russia. This is technically a World War III, okay, because of the fact that he threatened everybody that he would launch nukes if anybody was going to continue to help the Ukrainians, okay? That's declaration of war. I don't know how you people defined it, but in my opinion, if a leader says something like that, okay, that's declaring war on the world. That's World War III, okay? So, anyway, the fact that, you got a news agency here running defense here for Putin in our own country, that's, I can't see how free speech would really apply here, especially if we're in a pseudo war with that country. It's a proxy fight or whatever you want to call it. I don't see how that could be ignored. They should get at least a knock on the door from the FBI or something, and given a talking to about, watch your step, basically, because we're watching you, and you step out of line, and this place is going to get shut down. I mean, I don't know, maybe they already did that, but maybe Fox doesn't care. The people at Fox don't care, I don't know. Let's go to commercial break.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Ruth McLaughlin, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me. This is me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
Once upon a time, in a place called Mzansi, the people loved driving cars everywhere. They used lots and lots of electricity and chopped down many trees for firewood. And then a very strange thing happened. The weather began to change. In some places there were droughts where before there was rain. In other places the rivers flooded the grown-ups realized they were contributing to the strange weather. They discovered if they used clean energy and less electricity, they could save Mzansi for their children.
What happened then?
How the story unfolds is up to each and every one of us. Switch off, recycle, change. Help save tomorrow.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. All right, so as I was talking about here about how Fox News and the Russian propaganda machine over there that they got for news now, because they all the rest of the news agencies that were over there have been kicked out of Russia because, you know, they don't want the people over there to know the truth. So the only news these people are going to get are from this government-run, state-run outfit, okay? And they pretty much, they've taken an excerpt from Fox News with Tucker Carlson and played it on their news report about the pipeline, saying that the United States is responsible for this, okay? And saying, well, look, even their own news agency over there is saying that, when Tucker Carlson himself doesn't even have a shred of proof to back up his claim, okay? It's the same old game with Fox News. To feed people lies, get them angry, get them riled up, so we can have another January 6th incident here, okay? That's all they're good for, that station, is making people so pissed off that they want to grab the closest gun to them and start shooting people randomly on the street. That's all they're good for. You know, which brings me back to a side point about why we let this guy from Australia, who started that damn news outfit, if you want to call it news, why we let him run that stuff here. He's not even an American citizen, and yet he's got a company over here that's systematically destroying this country's democracy a little at a time, okay? And to me, that's sort of like, a businessman declaring war on this country. So why can't we export his ass and his fucking assets the hell out of America? Okay, because they are not American friendly. They are out there to destroy this country. Okay, that's beside the point. The fact is that there is no proof to suggest the United States did a goddamn thing with that pipeline, but there is a lot of evidence showing how Putin wanted that thing shut down to make Europe suffer for the sanctions. And that goes all the way back to the start of the year. Okay, he's been bitching about that since then. Okay, and they were planning on shutting the pipeline. They didn't say how they were going to do it, but they were planning on shutting that pipeline down. Okay, and apparently they wanted it shut down permanent. Okay, they didn't just go out there and turn the wheel there to shut the valve off. No, they blew the motherfucker right in the water. Okay, so there, no more gas for them. So now that's the reason why the United States is going to have to help out to give, the Europeans the oil, the gas, or whatever they need to get through the winter, because their costs this winter for heating their homes is going to go through the fucking roof. You know that. And Canada also is going to be helping the European nations. So it's good news for the fossil fuel industry in Canada and the United States, because now they get a stay of execution, as it were, to make a whole lot more money. So taking away our supplies of oil and giving it to them. Okay, so we're going to be in competition with Europe over oil. So that means the prices of gas are going to stay high. There's really no way around it, because Russia supplied a lot. They had a lot of oil and gas there, but now they can't sell it to anybody except China, and maybe Turkey. But that's not going to come close to where the profits they were making before. That's just going to be to those areas. And, I don't know how that's going to work out for them, because, I guess time will tell. But they lost half their goddamn budget right there, the Russian budget, when the sanctions went into place, because that, the sale of all that fossil fuel gave Russia, a lot of friggin' money every year. And now that's been cut right in half. So they're going to take a huge cut over there, just selling to China and Turkey. So if there's anybody that wanted that pipeline shut off, okay, it was Putin. Okay, and obviously, logic would suggest that it was them that blew the thing up. Why they're trying to make this into like who did it is really sort of a made up issue. I mean, it's like a story that doesn't need to be a story, because we already should know who did it, because Putin's been saying since the start of the year that he wanted to shut that pipeline down to pay back Europe for all the sanctions they levied. Okay, so for Fox to come out to say who did it, and then say Putin did it, they're making up a story that's really baseless. Okay, they're just making something up. All right, and like I said, I find that to be very disturbing, where you got a company abusing the First Amendment in this country in that way. Okay, and thinking that, we have a right to lie. Yeah, but doesn't the media also have a right to tell the truth as well? I thought there was something about that, as far as if you work for the media, about, being honest and objective in your reporting of things, not to be a constant commentator. But I forget, Tucker Carlson is not a reporter. He's a commentator, like most of the people on Fox News are. They don't have any experience at all at getting the news, okay, and reporting it. They just get in front of the camera and, do what I'm doing, basically, just yakking on it and ranting about it, and they don't really, a lot of times, they don't even have any evidence to back up their opinions of things when they're talking. All right, so these people are just, suits, getting $25 million a fucking year from Fox to do what they do. I mean, talk about easy money, right? I mean, hell, I could get a job doing that shit if I didn't mind lying on the television to everybody every night. But I guess it takes a certain caliber of a person to say, hell with it, I don't give a shit if I gotta lie or make up all kinds of shit. I don't care if I start a war by getting people in a panic. Who cares? I'm getting my friggin' $25 million, person like that is useless. Okay, so something here about abortion here has stirred up the anti-abortion people. This article, written at Time, written by Abigail Abrams. It's entitled "Veterans Affairs New Policy to Provide Abortions Sets Off Battle with Conservative States." Geez, I thought they supported the veterans. A new Department of Veterans Affairs rule is setting up a major clash between conservative states and the federal government as Republican lawmakers vow to fight the policy that the VA will provide abortion services even in states that have outlawed the procedure. Well, I got news for those states. This is a federal organization, the VA. It doesn't belong to a single state. It's a federal, it's created by the government, okay? And if they want to give people abortions at the VA, then there's not a fucking thing the states can do about it because it's not their purview. That doesn't have their jurisdiction on it, okay? All these outfits are run by the federal government. Under the new law, or the new rule rather, which took effect on September the 9th, the VA will provide abortion counseling and abortions in cases of rape, incest, or when a pregnancy threatens the patient's life to veterans and their eligible family members. This represents a historic change. The VA previously did not provide abortions for veterans under any circumstances and did not allow its providers to counsel patients about the procedure. The move is a direct result of the Supreme Court's overturning Roe v. Wade this summer, which set off a wave of abortion bans and restrictions around the country. VA leaders said those restrictions created quote-unquote urgent risks for veterans and forced the agency to act. Quote, "This expansion is a patient safety decision first and foremost," unquote. Dr. Sharif Elanal, VA Under Secretary for Health, told members of the House Veterans Affairs Committee on Thursday, quote, "It is important to emphasize that VA is taking these steps with our primary mission in mind, to preserve the lives and health of veterans." Okay, that's their responsibility, not the civilians out there, okay, who never served in combat or anything like that. They're just taking care of the veterans. That's why this is a government thing, because the veterans has worked for the United States as a whole. They didn't just took an oath to the state they were from. They took an oath to defend the country as a whole. That makes this a government program, the VA system. The individual states may not like what they did, but they got no right to sit here and dictate to anybody that they shouldn't do this. Okay, if the VA felt that that their veterans they had to protect the veterans in this way, they have every right to create this new rule. The policy was cheered by Democrats who have been pressing President Biden to find ways to expand abortion access since the Supreme Court's decision in Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization eliminated the federal right to abortion. They said they hoped VA's move would have broad appeal, given that the rule only allows for abortions in circumstances that track with other federal policies. Democrat Senator Patty Murray of Washington called the change a, quote, common sense policy, unquote, at a news conference on the topic last week, while Senator Tammy Duckworth of Illinois, who lost her legs serving in Iraq, questioned why the government would be comfortable letting her use her body for war, but not for her choice of how and when to start a family. Quote, when is it that American women have the right to bodily autonomy, unquote, she asked. Republicans disagree. Many states that have enacted near total abortion bans do not have exceptions for rape and incest. So conservatives argue the VA is overreaching its authority. Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall said last week he would enforce his state's abortion ban, which outlaws all abortions except in cases that threaten the life of the pregnant person, against any practitioner who violates it. Quote, I have no intention of abdicating my duty to enforce the Unborn Life Protection Act against any practitioner who unlawfully conducts abortions in the state of Alabama, unquote, he said in a statement. Quote, the power of states to protect unborn life is settled, unquote. Arkansas Attorney General Leslie Rutledge, whose state abortion ban also only allows for abortions in life-threatening cases, similarly told Time she would enforce her ban despite the VA policy. Quote, I stand ready to challenge the Biden administration for trying to circumvent Arkansas law, unquote, Rutledge said in a statement. The Hyde Amendment prohibits federal funding for most abortion-related services, but it allows for similar exceptions to the VA's rule, and it only applies to funds appropriated for the Department of Labor, Health and Human Services, and Education, not the VA. Republicans argue the VA's policy violates other laws, including the Veterans Health Care Act of '92, which excluded abortions from the medical care the VA was allowed to provide. Democrats counter that the Veterans Health Care Eligibility Reform Act of '96 allows the VA secretary to, quote, furnish hospital care and medical services, unquote, determined to be, quote, needed, unquote, including abortion. VA officials and legal experts say the agency is on solid legal footing as it institutes the new policy, particularly due to the legal principle of federal preemption. Quote, the federal government gets to make law and states can't say we don't want to follow that, unquote, says David Cohen, a law professor at Drexel University. Quote, so a state that tried to sue to say the VA can't do this would be contravening that fundamental principle of American law, unquote, see? The outcome of the legal debate could affect thousands of women seeking care. About 26,000 women veterans of reproductive age live in states with severe abortion restrictions, according to Kayla Williams, a RAND Corporation researcher and former director of the VA's Center for Women Veterans who testified at the hearing. She estimated that about 96,200 VA patients could be affected by the policy change. Elenol said he initially expects about 1,000 VA-supported abortions to be performed a year, but that could grow in future years as the number of women veterans is increasing rapidly. Republicans said during Thursday's committee hearing that they would support legal challenges to the policy and threatened to go after the VA's budget if they retake control of Congress in November. Quote, this is not only wrong, it's illegal, unquote, said Ranking Committee member Representative Mike Bost, a Republican from Illinois. He said he was working with colleagues on the House Appropriations Committee and in the Senate on potential sanctions. Quote, abortion is not health care, no matter what those on the other side of this issue may feel, unquote. Regardless of whether the VA policy is challenged in court, it will be complex to implement, and it's unlikely that its providers will be ready right away to provide a range of abortion services. One of the biggest challenges is the fact that the VA is essentially building infrastructure for the plan in real time. The VA has not said when its facilities will start providing abortions. Elenol told lawmakers the agency is working to ensure that facilities have proper staffing and training to carry out the policy, making pregnancy testing available at all locations and conducting a survey of the availability of ultrasound machines. Quote, we believe medication abortion will be the first available and most common type of abortion provided. So we are working to ensure providers have access to training as well as the needed medications, unquote, he said. If the VA is not immediately able to provide needed care, Elenol said veterans and beneficiaries can use community providers or travel to other community or VA facilities, and the VA will cover the cost of that transportation where applicable. But the legal landscape is complicated. For those providers working at VA facilities on federal property, Elenol said, quote, they will be protected under federal supremacy and the full force of the federal government will be there for them should they be challenged on that, unquote. But the same legal protections would, quote, not necessarily be available, unquote, for providers working in non-VA facilities in states that have banned abortion, he said. This could make it difficult to find community providers willing to help in states that have outlawed abortion, especially as many abortion clinics in those states have closed or stopped offering the procedure. Quote, as the abortion infrastructure and the infrastructure for care across the country continues to shut down as a result of state-level bans, the VA is going to have a really hard time implementing this policy, unquote. Lindsay Church, Executive Director of Minority Veterans of America, who testified at the hearing on Thursday, told Time. The Constitution does provide some protections for people traveling to federal land to conduct federal business, Cohen and other legal experts say. The 14th Amendment's privileges or immunities clause could be used to protect patients or providers if states try to go after people for providing abortions at VA facilities. But Rachel Rebush, Dean of Temple University's Beasley School of Law and an expert on reproductive health law, says the clause has been interpreted narrowly in the past and it's unclear how far the protections would go. Even if the states don't take that legal route, Rebush says they have the power to make doctors' lives difficult if they participate. Quote, states could target you in other ways. They could say that it's unethical, or they could attack your license. State medical boards have really broad authority to define what is ethical practice, unquote, she says. Quote, it really is going to shine a spotlight on tensions between federal and state regulations, unquote. Rebush adds, quote, it really is going to test our fundamental assumptions about federalism, about how states should treat each other, about the role of federal law in the abortion arena, unquote. So, yeah, this is what's happening now. So, you know, you got a fight being set up here, state versus the government, basically, over abortion. And, you know, all I can think of is that this would not be happening if everybody just followed the same goddamn axiom here of let people live and let live, okay? It's not your fucking business what your next door neighbor, if she's going to have an abortion or not, okay? It's not your baby. She's not your wife or cousin, sister, whatever, you know? She's nothing to you. She's just a neighbor. But you don't have the right to go and tout your friggin' sign and try to intercept her at the fucking front door of an abortion clinic and stop her from doing it. Nobody gave you the right to do that, okay? That's the same thing as putting your hand on somebody, okay, and threatening them, all right? And it's gotten to that many times. We've had clinics bombed in the past, okay? And so these people have it in their head that they feel like they're doing God a service here. God never asked any of these fuckers here to do that shit, okay? Show me in the Bible where it says that, you know, you've been deputized to go out and stop people from having abortions. Show me where it says anything like that in the Bible, okay? Show me. I'll kiss your ass in the middle of town and give you a week to draw a crowd. Fact is, it ain't there, okay? Nobody has any right to tell anybody else how to live their fucking life, okay? Isn't that what free choice is about? Isn't that what being an adult is about? People have the freedom to make their successes or their failures on their own, okay? When a woman has a child, right, and she's a single mother, do you see anybody out there running to her aid, to give her money, to give her a place to live, you know, to set her up? You don't see that. So why the fuck do they think that going after the same individual who is going to have an abortion, what gives them the right to go over there and do that, okay? It's like, well, look, you can't pick and choose when and where you want to exert your Christianity, your rules, okay? You can't do that. If you're going to be a certain kind of person, then you got to be consistent, okay? There's a lot of things in the Bible that it says is wrong for people to do, but I don't see, you know, these same conservative Christians out there, you know, stopping war or stopping, you know, murder or stopping this or that, you know, anything else, or, you know, the gun problem and stuff. Where the hell are these people that supposedly, you know, consider themselves, you know, divine or whatever, or working for God to save lives? Where are they when lives need to be saved, you know? Where the hell are they? What about the death sentence? Where the hell are they when it comes to that? Okay, it's only when they need it. And like I said, a while back, the abortion issue is a great issue for Republicans to run on because it gets everybody all riled up. It splits the country, down the middle. And, it's the way they campaign. They have nothing to offer you. The Republicans have nothing to offer you when they run for any office, okay? All they got, okay, is accusations and drumming up problems that really aren't there, like, critical race theory, and building everybody's anxieties level up to a breaking point. That's all they're good for, okay? And when these people do that, that's how they get people out there to vote. But you won't ever hear anything by the Republicans, talking about things we could do against global warming, or how we can create jobs in this country to offset costs, like what Biden's doing here, or create more jobs for people in this country that pay better, that have benefits. Okay? You don't hear any of that from them, do you? I mean, I can't think of a time whenever a Republican ever ran for any office who ever echoed things that Democrats were saying. I mean, if Democrats see these problems, okay, that are there in society, and they're very apparent to a lot of us, then shouldn't we be hearing the same kind of issues from the other side about how to solve these problems? Isn't the real issue when these people campaign for an office about which side's got the best idea to solve a problem? Instead, what we got is one side coming up with an idea to solve a problem. The other side goes and creates a problem to bring to the argument, so they don't have to talk about the problem that the that the left is talking about. They bring up a whole other issue that has nothing to do with anything, but yet they've managed to make that a big interest to their people, to their voters, and that's the issue they bring to the table, okay? They won't offer a solution to anything that is a problem, a real problem in this country. They won't offer anything like that, because they have none, all right? They have none. I mean, look at all the things that Trump promised he was going to do when he became president. How much did he ever actually get done? Okay? He gave the wealthy a lot of their money back, okay? Other than that, that's all he did. He couldn't even get his wall built, okay? The fucking thing ain't even finished, and it's falling apart already because they stopped construction on it. The damn thing, it was just a symbol of a guy's train of thought about how he didn't want people from Mexico coming up here. Okay? That wall had no intention of holding back anybody. It was just going to be an eyesore with the American flag planted right in the center of it, okay? That's all that thing ever was going to be, all right? The Republicans really don't want to stop the immigration issue. That's an issue they like to campaign on. It gets people pissed off, okay? So they don't want to solve it. They want to make it worse, okay? That wall was never going to stop a goddamn thing, and everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. No wall ever created on this earth ever stopped anything from happening, okay? I don't care what you say. It just wouldn't work. I can't think of anything else here I want to bring up. Somehow I feel like there is something else I wanted to say here, but so I'm just going to end it here, and I'm going to say I hope everybody has a great rest of the week as we come to the weekend. So please subscribe and comment, and keep your ears open for COVID-19 reports and stuff like that, and the monkeypox. And I guess, they're asking people to get booster shots now for COVID-19. So if you haven't got one, look into it and possibly get one. Just be smart. I say that a lot. People should, when they make a decision, should make a smart decision, because too many of us don't make smart decisions. But we need to start being more aware of our surroundings and making better choices. Okay, and so that's about what I can say there, except treat each other nice too as well. So I'll talk to you all later. So take care.